Alright, so in this video, I'm going to be helping all of you students out there who have exams coming up and need to know how to manage your time effectively during prep. And I've condensed everything into 5 key tips, so let's not waste any time and get right into it. Okay, so firstly, you need to start as soon as possible. As tempting as it is to convince yourself you know everything and think that you don't need to study at all, please don't. Try and think of the feeling of having so much time before your exam that you're able to study all the content in time, and by the end of the revision period, imagine you have time left over and you're literally now excited to sit the exam. None of the tips in this video are going to work if you don't plan properly and give yourself enough time to actually do that and study hard. Now that you've decided to study sooner rather than later, well done. But it's also really important to plan out the topics and things you want to get done so that you make sure everything is fresh in your brain ready for the exam. So what I personally found to be really useful during the exam period was to just have a hand-drawn timetable, and in each box, which is a day, I would have just planned ahead and marked by which date I want to have finished covering organic chemistry content, for example. I would also, for example, write on which day I wanted to have all the past papers from a specific exam board done, or all the practice questions from this section on physics and maths tutor, or whatever revision website. To be honest, I did this a little closer to my exams, maybe 3 weeks before, because I can imagine doing this from the very beginning can make work really overwhelming, and there might just be too much to do near the beginning to write it all in a tiny little timetable. Okay, so the next step is to start time blocking. This was a technique that I personally found really useful and started relying on to make my use of time throughout the day as effective as possible. It's very simple. Grab a whiteboard or a scrap piece of paper or whatever and write down the time that you want to wake up at the top and the time you want to go to bed at the bottom. Then decide how many hours a day you want to study. I would go for the higher end, try and push yourself as much as possible, especially if it's an important exam. And if you really feel like you can't hit those hours that you initially intended, you can always change it later. But then just fill out the rest of the day with blocks of time that you want to dedicate to focused study time, and keep into account times where you want to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. These can be your breaks. Fit in some time to do exercise. I would normally couple this with lunch. Mine usually went something like this. I would wake up at around 8 a.m, then instantly do an hour of revision after brushing my teeth and drinking a bunch of water. Then I would shower, and this would be a quick break. Then I would study for another hour or so, then eat breakfast, then study for a longer 2 hours or so, then lunch and exercise, then study for another 2 hours until dinner. Then if I'm feeling really cool and productive, then I'll do like 1 more hour of revision, but then call it quits for the rest of the night and chill until I go to bed, and then do it all again the day after. And that's maybe around 6 or 7 hours of studying in a single day, which I found to pretty much be my absolute maximum. Rarely did I ever do an 8-hour revision day. The next step is to please prioritize the topics that you find the most difficult. Now, there are definitely going to be some people who haven't been studying for practically the whole year and are super behind, and those people should probably start from the beginning of the textbook. But for the majority of you who are aiming for the highest grade possible, I doubt that you need to start with the absolute most basic topic in the book. Chances are that if you're prioritizing going through the topics you're worst at, those topics are probably going to be the more difficult ones, and you'll end up going through the easier ones indirectly in the end anyway, because these topics always build on each other. List out every topic from the specification and then highlight it in either red, amber, or green, depending on how you feel about that topic. And then as you go through the revision period, update your tracker based on how you now feel about that topic. Green means that you don't need to touch that topic ever again. So that means you've done all the practice questions from all the exam boards possible, and you should obviously be aiming to get all those topics screened by the end of the exam preparation period. And my final tip is to not be scared of scheduling long hours in your day. We already somewhat talked about this. I've said this a bunch of times and I'll say it again. Working smart is an important concept to live by, not just with studying, but with anything in life. But working hard is just still as equally important. The students who are working really smart and using their time really effectively are going to do great, but the students who are going to do the best are the ones that can do that and work hard at the same time. So don't limit yourself from studying at your maximum capacity every day, because it's important not to waste time. I'm not saying to skip out on breaks, because those are equally as important, but once you've scheduled in enough breaks to freshen up your mind, don't be scared to push yourself in how hard you can work, because you're only going to be sitting these exams once and the pain is only temporary. But other than that, I don't think there's much else to say. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video and are now ready to tackle your own revision. Huge thanks for watching this video. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.